Some people just get on your nerves. Perhaps it's because of someone's peculiar demeanor, twisted quirks, annoying vices, or just their goofy appearance. Whatever the case, some people just don't get along. It seems that's the case with Jazz's Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Many reports have been published discussing how they can't stand each other. So, let's get to the bottom of this passive-aggressive civil war. First, let's introduce the combatants. In the red corner, we have Rudy Gobert. Aside from his stature, his status is also large enough as he signed a massive 5-year, $205 million contract extension with the Jazz just recently. This marks the largest deal for a center in NBA history. Rudy Gobert was born in 1992 in Saint-Quentin, France. He stands at 7 foot 1 inch, or 2.16 meters tall. Gobert declared himself for the 2013 NBA draft, where he was drafted as 27th overall pick by the Denver Nuggets. He was later traded on draft night to the Utah Jazz. Under his belt, he holds titles such as the All-NBA Second and Third Team, 2020 NBA All-Star, 4 times All-Defensive First Team Player, NBA Block Leader of 2017, and 2019's French Player of the Year. In the blue corner, we have Donovan Mitchell. He hails from Elmsford, New York, born in 1996. Donovan Mitchell's net worth is estimated to be roughly $20 million, and this NBA All-Rookie First Team and NBA All-Star is packed with dedication for his team and the NBA. He's wise beyond his years and has the discipline to rival the best and make it to the NBA Hall of Fame. For a reference of his loyalty to the NBA and his team, he was quoted saying, "We're putting Utah in a different light. I'm glad to be a part of that. We're all glad to be a part of that. My friends want to come here. When I was a kid, that wasn't the case. That's where I'm trying to get Utah to. I want people to see what we have because it's a great place." Now for the heat. Just in early February, on the Hoop Collective podcast, the bewildering beef between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell was reportedly reaching levels where experts and fans alike began to be concerned. On the latest Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN's Brian Windhorst and Tim McMahon discussed the ongoing tensions between the two Utah Jazz stars, and they had some insightful words for the ordeal. Windhorst disposed, "Gobert and Mitchell have been at each other's, I don't know if I can say at each other's throats." And McMahon simply replied, "It's back to being passively aggressively awkward." Windhorst went on to say, "It's the most underplayed story in the league, I think. The Jazz are struggling a lot. This team had big expectations, and they're getting passed by, frankly. They are not on the level they were a year ago. Donovan and Gobert, even though they're both under long-term contract, are under each other's skin. There's all kinds of subtweeting and passive-aggressive stuff going on." When Donovan Mitchell had the chance, he told Tony Jones of The Athletic that he and Gobert are actually good despite the report of tension between him and Gobert. But it seems most are not buying it. Fans think Donovan Mitchell, aka the Spider, is actually just being professionally cordial. Here's how the beef first started. Tensions between Gobert and Mitchell are nothing new. The severe fracture in their bond first started at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic when Gobert famously or infamously mocked the virus in March 2020 by touching all of the mics during a press conference and scatting out the room. As karma would have it, Gobert became the first NBA player to test positive for COVID-19. Mitchell tested positive days later, and that's where the resentment began. From there, the Utah Jazz lost 8 of their last 11 games and dropped out of the race at the top of the Western Conference after being the #1 seed during the prior season. Utah was off to a terrible start as they had already had 21 losses through 52 games, whereas in the previous season, they only had 20 losses in 72 games. So this only added to the scrutiny that Gobert received. People were so infuriated that the Utah Jazz big man was even partially blamed for the NBA season shutting down temporarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The disapproval lasted well into 9 months after the incident, while the 2020-2021 season were underway. So Gobert was still apologizing and struggling to explain why he joked about the coronavirus pandemic that day. Gobert told ESPN, "It came from a good intention. It was the first day that we found out that the media was not going to be able to interview us, right next to us. And, we obviously didn't know as much as we know now, and I only did that to try to liven the mood a little bit. Some forgave him while others condemned him for his lack of courtesy and maturity while spouting the old proverb, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." A great number of NBA fans also heard the reports that Gobert was also touching players and their belongings in the locker room repeatedly. No matter if you're on the side of vaccine mandates or not, all can agree that this behavior surely can't be easily forgiven. It was especially unforgivable as he soon after tested positive for the coronavirus, which prompted the league to suspend play completely and pretty much instantly on March 11th. The very next day, March 12th, as the first person in the league known to have had the coronavirus in the early days of the pandemic in the United States, Gobert was scared out of his humorless wits. He told ESPN, "It was great that the NBA reacted as fast as they did because just having thousands and thousands of people in a closed space next to each other while having way more people testing positive, it was really the smartest thing to do to try to save as many lives as they could." Gobert then became very humbled and submissive and was quoted saying, "Just all the unknowns, a lot of things, and there still is. A lot of things that we don't know about this virus, and even less at the time. And being the first professional NBA player testing positive brought a lot of thoughts in my mind. It was, just looking at stuff and wondering if you're going to be okay, if you're not going to be okay. Thinking about my family that wasn't able to be with me. It was a lot to process at the time. But once I was able to sit back and also realize that it wasn't just me, the whole world was going through that, and some people were losing their jobs, losing family members. I mean, it was just a tough time for all of us." Regarding the issues. Over the course of the months between the shutdown of the NBA season and its bubble resumption, Gobert and Mitchell worked on their issues and eventually came to an understanding. As a matter of fact, the pair seemed to have forged a strong bond during the 2020-21 season, with Mitchell actually admitting that the media attention helped bring them together. In an interview on Tony Jones of The Athletic, Donovan Mitchell said, "In a strange way, I think that article helped. It brought out a level of determination in both of us that we never had. I never had a controversy like that. Here we were, two pillars of the team, and we had to go to the playoffs in 2 months. It brought out a different level of tenacity in both of us." Yet, the fractures in their camaraderie were not completely mended. The resentments in the relationship began reappearing throughout, with the Utah Jazz coming off a disappointing second-round playoff exit. Gobert added fire to the smoke when he criticized his teammates' lack of defensive effort. Mitchell, as well as other players, felt that Gobert threw them under the bus when he commented, "When I watch some of these other teams like the Suns or the Warriors, these guys are a step ahead of us in terms of winning habits. They take every game personally. Devin Booker's playing his ass off defensively. I've been watching him compared to 2 years ago. Guys like that, they buy in. You can tell they take pride in playing defense, stopping their man, doing whatever they can defensively to stop the other team and be a part of a winning culture. I think we're not there yet, but I think we're gonna get there." Although this might have seemed like an empathetic statement without reproach, many people, including Mitchell himself, seemed to take the quote as a personal public shot. When asked about Gobert's comments, Mitchell was clearly perturbed by the situation and offered an abrupt response saying, "We all as a group hold each other accountable. That's his way, I guess. I'm not too concerned about it. His just happened this way. Cool." Both Mitchell and Gobert are under contract through at least the 2024-25 season, so the only way they can depart from each other is if the situation reaches a boiling point. For now, though, the Jazz stars appear to be reluctant co-workers rather than Utah Jazz brothers. A penny for your thoughts on this topic in the comments section below. Thanks for watching.